Hi, I'm Kate and I'm sitting down with Poppy Cherry, burlesque performer, master of ceremonies and co-owner of Maison Burlesque in Melbourne. Hi Poppy.
Hi Kate, how are you going?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for coming along.
No worries.
So I wanted to talk today all about your journey through burlesque and how you've gone to opening your very own studio and everything you're doing. So I guess let's start back at the beginning. How did you get into burlesque?
Sure. So I guess for me, I was working in healthcare at the time. I always wanted to be a creative person, but never felt like I'd found my creative outlet, if that makes sense. So I was not a singer or a writer or a painter or anything like that. And my partner and I at the time were going out to see shows and things like that, and we saw a burlesque show with Imogen Kelly in it, and I fell in love. And I came home and they said, that's what I want to do.
Really?
Yeah.
And then how did you go from that, of watching someone do what you do? Because I think at the time there wouldn't have been really any classes where you could just learn how
At the time there wasn't a lot happening, and certainly even show-wise, a burlesque show was something that just happened every so often. It wasn't something that was on every week. I did find some burlesque classes and started getting involved I started learning some fan dance.
Beautiful.
And learning some belly dance and doing things like that. And that's when, I guess I just kind of became a bit obsessed with it. And then my belly dance teacher at the time offered me an opportunity to put together a solo act and perform it at a fundraising gig she was doing. And I did that, and then kind of the rest was history.
Wow. And so you've been performing now for how long through this year?
Probably about 8 or 9 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. And I remember coming to see you at venues like Burlesque Bar and Red Benny's and all of those. So the venues have changed a lot in Melbourne, and so those kind of venues with really regular shows sort of dropped down a little bit.
Absolutely.
So what did you do to keep yourself going in with all of the
so I guess because at the time I reached a point I was working as a resident performer at the Burlesque Bar, and I was working there enough that I'd quit my day job. I was working there full time as a performer with the odd gig on the side. And I think we went through a phase in Melbourne probably about 6 or 7 years ago where burlesque was huge. It was sort of around the time that film came out, so it was really on trend. Exactly.
I remember that.
And so at that time there were shows everywhere, so there was a lot of work for performers. Then what happened was it kind of became, in my mind, oversaturated. So there was too much happening, and all of a sudden the industry couldn't support itself anymore. So, I guess gradually a lot of these places, and I think for various reasons related to each individual venue, but a lot of those places stopped doing as much and then over time ended up closing down. So we had a situation probably, I'd say maybe about 3 or 4 years ago where there really all of a sudden wasn't much happening at all. So it's kind of like burlesque died for a while, and I think it's on the way back up again, but back to something that feels more manageable.
Okay, beautiful. And is that one of those times that you then found the showboat? I know that that's something that you
The showboat was actually going, that's been going for about 6 or 7 years now. So that was going at the same time as all of those, but is one of the few things that was going back then that's still going now.
And for those who don't know what the showboat is, can you explain what the showboat is?
So the burlesque showboat, it takes place on the Lady Cutler, which is a cruise boat that leaves from Docklands, and basically we do a burlesque cruise on there usually about once every 2 weeks. So people come and they get to cruise around. We go from Docklands to Williamstown and back, and they have a burlesque show, food, drinks, all that sort of jazz.
I love it. Cool. And am I right that some of the team who were part of the Burlesque Showboat and Burlesque Bar is now part of Maison Burlesque?
Sure, yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about how that started, Maison?
Sure. So basically, Burlesque Bar closed in November of 2013. At the time, Lauren, who was the owner of Burlesque Bar, and we sat down, we had a couple of drinks, and we said, it's really sad. These things always happen over drinks, by the way. No creative big decision gets made without alcohol. That's it. So Lauren and I sat down and we said, can we come up with a way to keep doing what we do, but do it differently? So rather than having to be a bar where we were having to be open all the time and putting on shows and hoping people would come, we said, why don't we put on something where it's more, we only run stuff if people come to us. So we started off running hens parties at Maison Burlesque. So we opened that in February of 2014. Started out running hens parties in a couple of classes and the odd photo shoot, and then just kind of kept snowballing, and it's kept growing to the point where we've now opened our third studio room.
Wow.
And yeah, we're doing 18 classes a week. You know, we're putting on hens parties on the weekends, doing all these Vamp Studio photo shoots, and
it just keeps growing.
Yeah,
it
really
keeps
does.
growing.
Yeah.
The last 12 months in particular, it just seems like it's exploded.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And you offer student showcases and ways for other girls to be creative.
Absolutely, yeah. Something that I guess didn't really exist as much when I was doing it, but now what we do is, so we run an 8-week term, and at the end of every 8 weeks, the students all get to come together and put on a show.
That's beautiful.
So it's really fun, and I think the girls really appreciate the chance to get up on stage, have fun, be creative, and it's a really social environment as well. One of the challenges for me was I used to love to learn new things. So whether that was burlesque or I was learning silversmithing or learning languages, I was a short course junkie when I was younger. And these days, one of the challenges is when what was your creative hobby becomes your career, you lose the ability in some ways sometimes to be able to put as much time into learning new things. So that for me has been a struggle, because there's a lot of things I'd love to learn more about, but I don't necessarily have the time that I did back then. I certainly try and do things, whether it's like learning ballet or doing things with other people, sometimes just experimentation and just trying new things is also a way of learning. I definitely think it's important though, to keep trying to upskill and learn new things so that, you can keep being better at what you do.
I love it. And we spoke about you are a lover of diversity.
Sure.
So diverse short courses, I heard so many different names of things back then. Maison itself is quite diverse now as well, all your routines.
I think one of the things that I see really important, if what you want to do creatively is going to become something that you can actually make a living off, is to have more than one thing that you can offer, because like we've seen with burlesque in general, we're very subject to trends. We're very subject to what's popular with the general public at any given time. So the more different things that you can offer people, then the more likely you are to sort of be able to have one thing that might be hitting a groove at a certain point, even if something else is quite quiet. So at Maison Burlesque at the moment, we do burlesque classes, we do hens parties, we do events, we do photo shoots, and the idea is, sometimes hens parties are really quiet, but that's okay because we do heaps of photo shoots, and so it balances out.
Oh, lovely, beautiful. So what would you say are some of the challenges that you faced in opening Maison Burlesque, or even as a solo performer?
Sometimes I think the challenges are striking the right balance between doing something that you want to do creatively, but looking at trying to create a product that you think is marketable. So I think sometimes you have things that you really want to do because it would be so much fun, and then people are like, nobody would pay to see that. And so... Well, yet, with the trends. But that can be a challenge. I think certainly one of the challenges too is just the pressure that it puts on your time. So I think everybody says, oh, wouldn't it be great to work for yourself? And 100%, I wouldn't go back. But you have to be prepared that it's going to be a huge amount of time.
It's not just showing up to class and teaching and then the rest of the time's free.
You don't leave your work at work anymore. Work comes home with you. Work is all day, every day. And that, I guess, so you have to sacrifice other areas of your life sometimes in order to do that. But I think for me, it's worth it.
Something you said before we started rolling was that you actually do not like getting self-motivated. It's something you struggle with. So how?
I know, it's ironic, I know.
So how do you do it? How do you show up every single day and go, okay, I need to work on my classes or my choreography? Like, how do you get into that zone then, if it's something you don't enjoy?
I think for me, sometimes it's you have to do it whether you're in the zone or not. I think when I was talking about having trouble being motivated, I think I like to also have parts of my life where I don't have to self-motivate myself. So I like to have a personal trainer who kicks my butt and tells me what to do in the gym, and I want no part in deciding what we're doing there, so that then I can go home and make decisions about what's happening on a business level or do that sort of thing. And also there's some aspects of what I do that sounds really geeky but are really fun for me. Like, I like sitting at home and working on spreadsheets, and I like doing web design and things like that. So that part of my job I actually find really fun. And I like teaching, and I find that fun. So I don't need to get motivation to teach. I might need motivation to choreograph. But that kind of thing.
Switching back to you as a performer, the thing that I've noticed over the past couple of years is you've made a bit of a transition from solo burlesque shows into MCing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I remember you saying once that was something you didn't think you would ever do either. And that sort of transition.
If you'd asked me like 12 years ago, what would I be doing now? I probably would have said I'd be in middle management at some company somewhere. So who knows? Seriously. So I guess, sorry, what was the question?
So your transition from performing to MCing,
sure.
yes. Which is both.
Yeah, so I started out doing the solo burlesque performing, obviously. And then in the early years of that, we put on a few theatrical type shows where I would be acting as a character as well as doing burlesque. I had a character I used to love playing called Fanny Pocket. And I basically ran this place and I was this little scullery maid. So that I had a few little moments maybe that would have been clues to me early on that I really enjoyed that acting and that audience interaction side of burlesque, and particularly working at Burlesque Bar, which was so small. We were very in and at our audience. Then I had doing a lot of the Oktoberfest shows, and again being a German beer maid and doing a lot of audience type interaction and a bit of stage stuff with that. And it was on the Burlesque Showboat that I first started MCing. Regular MC at the time wasn't as available as she had been, and we needed someone to kind of step up and do it quickly, and I gave it a go, and I've just actually really enjoyed it. So I've been doing a lot of MC work on the Showboat and also at our student showcases.
And so what is next for you or for Maison? What's your next step? Or enjoying the ride?
Well, look, at the moment, because we've had so much focus on the past couple of months about opening the new room, I think part of it is just going to be to settle in and enjoy it. Personally, I'd love to get to the level of being able to just pull back ever so slightly and say, okay, I'm going to start giving some jobs to other people to do, because it's very easy to get completely overwhelmed and consumed by your job in a way that, like I said earlier, you can't step away from it. So I'd love to be able to say we can grow things to a level where I can be like, okay, I'm taking a day off today. Someone else is in charge. So that's my goal.
That's the next step. I love it. Well, I think you can get there. Well, the more that everything grows, that is the next logical step. So. Beautiful. So what else is coming up for you as a performer?
So as a performer, I'm really excited. I've been invited to MC one of the shows at the Australian Burlesque Festival this year. So that's really exciting, being offered the opportunity to host a much bigger event. Very excited about that. The other really exciting thing I got invited to do is there's an event called the Burlesque Cruise. So different to the Burlesque Showboat, this is a P&O cruise that's going to Vanuatu and Noumea next year, and we're going to be doing a 10-day tour and basically teaching burlesque to people on the cruise, as well as we're going to have a show and things like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
And, I'm super excited about that one.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That won't feel like work, I don't think.
If you were to go back to yourself when you were first starting out as a burlesque performer, knowing everything you know now, is there any advice you would give yourself or anything you would tell yourself?
I almost wouldn't want to give away too much as a surprise. I would never have expected this for myself, ever. So, although when I spoke to my dad and he was like, all the dress-up things that you used to make us watch when you were a kid, I could totally see this is where you were going. So he saw it. I never did. In terms of advice that I'd give myself was, don't be afraid to take the risks. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I did a lot of very ballsy things when I was younger in terms of approaching people, saying, hi, this is me, can I do this for you, or whatever, and putting myself out there in ways that now that I'm wiser, I'd be less likely to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I think I'd say don't stop doing all of that, because I think that's part of what worked.
Well, I don't know if we can invite everyone to the cruise, but I can certainly pop all the links below for the Follies show, wherever that is, somewhere here, and just all the other shows for the Australian Burlesque Festival. I'm also going to pop down all our links for Maison Burlesque. I think we'll have the link to timetables and all that sort of stuff.
You can find us here in Richmond, Ridge Road.
In Melbourne, for those who,
Melbourne.
In Melbourne.
But come make a trip. It's worth it. It's worth the trip.
It is worth the trip. Otherwise, if you're in Vanuatu when Poppy goes over.
Oh, we leave from Brisbane, so you can go on that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, look it up, Burlesque Cruise.
Lovely. We'll put all the links. All right. Well, thank you very much, Poppy, for coming
Thanks
to visit.
so much for having me, Kate.
All right, beautiful.
Thanks. Awesome.